Here we are at another park this afternoon, and it's a beautiful park. We've only seen some gigantic red ants and a couple of alligators, so I think we're good to go for doing our shoot here. You guys okay with this today? So what it is it's an absolutely beautiful park. You know, we always hear about the Florida sunshine. We've been blessed by the Florida cloud cover today, which has just given this beautiful, beautiful soft light at this location. This location has 3 bridges crossing the lake area right here. And, you know, even though we got some green on the water, I think it's just given us, or just adding a wonderful interest to the images that we're going to try to produce here. Now, I've selected a location here where we have the tree branches kind of coming down, leading to the bride and the groom. We also have a bridge that's leading right into them in the background. Now, imagine when I'm saying this is that this is the composition that I'm going to put them within. So whenever I walk a scene, and that's what I've been doing for the last couple of minutes while we're beginning the video setup, is just seeing what would give me the best background for the photographs of a bride and a groom in this particular location. So I first check out the space, see where the lines are leading to, and then I just ask the bride and groom to step into that position. I want to show you about 3 different things right here. First of all, I'm going to use a wide angle lens, and I've got my 24-105 on the camera right here. I may start out somewhere around 24, 35 millimeters, because I'm going to be closer to them. I'm going to shoot them from about the waist up or maybe from knees up, because I want to pick up some of the swirling, twirling textures in the water back there. So anyway, the wide angle lens is going to let me do that. Then I'm going to back up to maybe a mid focal length, compress that just a little bit more, and then I'm going back to my really, really long lens too, which I'll love to see the effect I get with all the compressed background and everything happening here. Another thing that's happening too is when you look at the overall scene, and I'm just going to take a quick one of you guys, and when we look at this photograph, you can see that we have the tree limbs coming down to them, and again, the main thing though that I'm seeing is kind of a lighter area behind them. So think of that lighter area of the forest or the trees or whatever, almost giving me like a backlight situation, let's say a background light situation. So they should be able to pop from that background just that much better, particularly since we're going to put light on the front of them. So this image we're going to take is just going to be a very, very simple image. It's just going to be just the regular bride and groom looking back into the camera kind of a photograph, but again, it's a technique and it's a lighting that I want to talk about here. So let's go ahead and set it up and see what we can get. So here we are. I'm on about 24 millimeters right here. It's going to be pretty wide. And because I'm taking a higher position right here, it's going to take that water and it's really going to expand it as a background for the both of them. And again, even though it's green water, maybe not the prettiest water, but I just love the swirls and the twirls of the algae back there. So let's go ahead and take photograph number 1. You can see that we have RC bringing the light in from the left. Why is he bringing it in from the left? Because I have Megan with her body turned this way. The light's going to cross the gown, give us that detail in the gown. We're still going to expose the scene at about a stop and a half less than the ambient light, because I really want RC's light to be the main light coming on out. I'm going to ask Megan to just turn her head slightly this way and now push into Christian this way a little bit. Chin down just a fraction. Perfect. Christian, come towards me just a little bit more, just an inch or two. And I wanted him to do that to be sure that I wasn't going to throw Megan's shadow on Christian. So I think we're looking pretty good. I'm going to crop them like right under his hand. We got the bridge coming in from the left and so forth. Happy you guys. Let's take a look at the first one. And I think, you're on quarter power. Why don't you take it to 8th power for me? Because I'm getting, one thing when I'm ever doing my exposures too, you haven't seen me use a light meter yet. I'm not a light meter kind of a guy. I have my camera set for highlight alert, which means that if I'm looking at something like a diffuse white, like her wedding gown right here, and if I see it blinking back at me in the viewfinder, I know that I'm blowing out some of those pixels. And since I'm blowing out the pixels, I'm going to just back up the light. Or I could have done 2 things. I could have backed RC up just a bit, or we could have reduced the illumination coming out from the flash. So we've chosen to reduce the illumination. I got my on-camera flash firing as well, just open up the shadows a bit. I don't necessarily need to do that. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to turn them off, because one thing that this on-camera flash will do, because it is a very small light source right here, about 1 inch by 2 inches, when it hits their faces, and if it is kind of a hot, muggy day and so forth, what will happen is that this will actually create specularity on their foreheads and so forth. So I'm thinking, since it is kind of muggy out here today, I'm going to turn this off just to minimize any kind of specularity that we might get in their complexions. So on-camera flash is turned off. It's only holding my radio up here. On-camera flash over here, shooting through the umbrella. Give me the broad light source to give me soft lighting on the bride and the groom. So here we go again, you guys. Looks good. Just going to reposition. Good. Just cropping right under their hands. I think we got a really pretty location right here. And a big hug on you guys. Hands out of pockets, just squeezing in. Good. Good, good, good again. Great. One more big hug. Great. All right. So we got just a nice selection right here. We got a lot of things going on with that background. I'm going to keep the same lens on, but I'm going to rack it back to 105 millimeters, and let's see how that changes our composition. Another thing I did too, remember we talked earlier on in one of the videos about how that lower camera position just reduces where that horizon line's hitting? Well, I wanted the horizon line to basically be, you know, from top to bottom on them, but as I move back here, I'm probably going to lower that horizon line substantially because I want to pick up more of the trees and the bridge and everything else. So I'm going to head on back, lower focal length or longer focal length, and let's see what we get. Okay, I've backed up, about another 15, 20 feet right here. I'm racked out to 105 millimeters, and it just compresses the scene just a little bit differently than what we had before. So when you see the first image compared to this image, I think you'll see what I'm talking about. The first one was a very nice image. I think this is a nice image too. Since I'm pretty well on the same crop as the both of them, it's just going to change the background around for me. I don't really need to move RC. Our light's pretty well fixed at that same radius. So here we go, shooting again right here. Happy are you guys? Do me a favor, Megan, just drop that right shoulder down a little bit. Perfect. Good, good, good. And when we take a look at it, it looks pretty nice right there too. All right, I'm going to switch now to the 70, or actually a 70 to 300 millimeter lens. And the reason I'm using the 300 millimeter lens, there you go, ma'am, is because it's easier to handle. It's a whole lot shorter than that 70 to 200 2.8 lens I had before. Since I'm going to be shooting at 5.6, I'm still within the sweet spot of this lens here, pretty darn good with it all. So it's just easier to use when I'm out here shooting. So I'm going to back up quite a bit more. And another thing that you'll see is I'll rack it out to about 200 millimeters. We'll take the same shot again. Let's see what that looks like. And then I've got the 300 and we'll see where we end up. So I'm heading way, way back now. And RC is still going to be at that same distance. It's really isolating the background, much like we did when we had the canopy of the trees a little bit earlier on. You know, what I'm seeing, though, is I'm seeing some darkness behind them. There's like a pocket of darkness instead of a pocket of light. And I'm just going to maybe drop my camera position a little bit lower. Right there again. RC, be sure you can't see the camera side of her nose. Just double check. We good? Okay, great, great, great. So pretty much the same crop we had before, but doesn't the image look really, really cool with how we're compressing the background here? I'm going to drop it a little bit lower and just see if I can get some of those bright branches right behind them and see if that helps us too. Okay, good, good, good. Happier again. Just tilt your head into him, Megan. Yeah, that's prettier. Good, good. Right there. And again, notice that we can't even hardly see our bridge. So I'm going to rack out just a little bit more to see the bridge. And the bridge is looking cool. The background's looking cool. I got a tree going through their head. I'm going to crank it up to 300 millimeter, probably walk halfway back to Cincinnati, Ohio, so I can get them framed up in here. But again, watch how the background just continues to expand and continues to please the composition as we have our bride and groom in it. All right, I'm halfway to Georgia now to get this photograph with my 300 millimeter lens on my 40D. I've got a 1.6 magnification factor on my 40D. So anyway, with a 1.6 magnification factor, what does that really give me then? That really gives me 480 millimeters of focal length to photograph the bride and the groom. That's a whole bunch of focal length, which is almost 500 millimeters of focal length. What's going to happen is it's going to compress that background just beautifully here for us, but I'm only using ever such a small part of it. Watch how the fence goes way, way out of focus, how the trees go out of focus, and how the bride and groom just pop from that background. It's just beautiful. We got some really cool stuff happening here. Again, as I said, look at the images that are popping up on the screen. Look at the beautiful out-of-focus lines of the bridge leading right into the couple. And then to Christian's right, as we're looking at the image, we got the trees over here on the right-hand side that are actually keeping the eye within the composition. The lighting is coming in just nicely with our loop lighting pattern. Everything's looking cool. You know, with Lightroom and some of the other tools, software tools we have, man, we could just pop that background, add a quick vignette to it, and it would just be gorgeous. I'm zooming out just a little bit more to bring so I can see the bridge coming in. RC, let me have you back up just a little bit more because I want to put them in the bottom right-hand corner of my composition and actually have the bridge kind of lead to them. Or let me say, put them in the right-hand side of the composition. and let that bridge just lean into them. There's some white area behind them coming in through the trees. I think that's an easy Photoshop fix, but I do like the leading lines that I got happening here. While we have this location, while we have that background kind of dark, why don't we also go ahead and have RC get behind them, see if we can backlight them. So, hey RC, how about kicking it up to full power, climbing in there behind them a little bit. I'm going to photograph them full length, which is my preference whenever we're doing these backlit kinds of things. And I always like a nice line just coming off, say, to the left-hand side that we're looking at. So, again, looking at some of the previous images, you have seen the gown dropping right down. Again, I'm not playing so much with that in these videos, but in this one here, so you can see the difference between before and after, I think you'll see that it does enhance the image. Again, on a wedding day, we're going at 50 million miles an hour, and it's great when we got an assistant. I generally always work with an assistant, because here I am, who knows, 80 feet away from my subject, and it just helps facilitate the whole shoot and everything. So again, when we take this, I like how you guys are perfect, hanging on each other like that. And do me a favor, just looking at each other for this one. Perfect, just like that. Okay, RC, good. And now is when you look at this, you can see that the gown coming off the bride is just a much prettier angle than what we had before. I'm even going to, even though I'm at 125th at 5.6, I'm going to speed this up to maybe a 200th of a second to darken that background down even more and see what we got. Here we go, you guys. Good, good, good. Let's see how we're looking here. One more here, one more. All right, you guys can relax. So again, we didn't run through a gazillion poses, but I think what we did run through was a whole lot of stuff to consider when you're out there shooting a wedding. You know, think about your focal length of your lenses and how much you can change the scene. Hey, I know what it's like on a wedding day where you're down to seconds to get a photograph, the bride and groom, when you get to the reception, everybody's anxious to move on and get the party going and everything. And that's why we need to know what our lenses are going to be doing, what our focal lengths are going to be doing, and the different results that they can give us. You know, for me, it's a given. I've always got an assistant with that off-camera flash coming on in. I think that is one of the things that differentiates, you know, our photography from our competition's photography, because we have that extra light, and it just puts a really pretty extra layer of beauty onto the scene when we're photographing our couples. But again, whether you're using a second light or whatever, understand how that focal length of the lenses can really, really change your backgrounds and really add another layer of beauty to things that maybe many other photographers aren't out there doing in your area. So anyway, go ahead and play with it. This whole focal length thing is such a kick to just understand how it works, how it changes the background relative to the subject, and it can really add a lot more fun to your photography and a lot more dramatic beauty to the photography as well.